This is part 10 of 13 of our response to Stephen Hargrave's message in the COGR's Revelation series.
And I hope that's very clear. Verse 29. And everyone that hath forsaken houses, or brethren, or sisters, father, or mother, or wife, or children, or lands for my name's sake, shall receive 100-fold and shall inherit everlasting life. So the apostles get a reward, and verse 29, then the rest of y'all. The apostles get to sit on thrones, and the rest of the people don't, but they get a reward. They receive 100-fold, and they inherit everlasting life. They just don't get to sit on thrones. This is the problem. This is the problem. Everybody wants to sit where Peter sits. And generally speaking, people don't have a problem that there are apostles. They have a problem that they are not the apostles.
It's another rhetorical trick.
Thank you.
A preemptive insult to anyone that disagrees with him. A complete straw manning of any possible coming position. It's frustrating to watch someone think like that.
Yep, it is a straw man, and it is a to watch. He makes a problem. He could have said that in a different way, so that, I mean, if he wanted to say, well, the apostles get to sit on thrones and you're going to go to heaven, he could have said that in some other manner without emphasizing the fact that, hey, we're going to get to sit on thrones and you're not. But he really made a point of that, to be able to, I guess, assert his prominence. But I've always kind of wondered, and perhaps you can think this through with me, because I haven't researched this as fully as I should have. But it's my understanding that the apostles, as in Luke and in Matthew, are going to sit on thrones. But it is also my understanding that that is going to occur when Jesus returns. And for that to happen any other way would be impossible in my mind, because at that point, whatever you think the intermediate state is, whether it's a gathering of people in a shadowy netherland, or whether you think that it's unconsciousness, or whether you think that it's in heaven, still, until Jesus returns, there isn't going to be a situation in which the apostles are going to be able to quote, sit on thrones and rule. So that has struck me as kind of an anomaly.
What do you think they're expecting?
Okay, well, let's define your terms here. Are you asking what do you think that the original apostles expected?
Oh, Steve and Ray.
I think that what they are doing is that they are using this to justify the fact that they should sit on thrones just as the original apostles sat on thrones. And that they're kind of doing the same thing that the Jehovah's Witnesses did, in that they're mirroring. They're saying that, well, just like with the original apostles, it's going to be that for the Gentile apostles. They sit on thrones, we're going to sit on thrones. But again, they didn't get it right even for the first part of it.
So Steve says at one point here, he says, I'm not telling you that the apostles are going to rule. I'm telling you that we are ruling. Remember that? And so, at least in part, though I do believe they believe this literally, at least in part, they understand thrones to be a metaphor for rulership.
Authority and rulership, yes.
Yeah.
Got
Right.
that.
Currently hold.
But I would question whether or not Steve is correct when he says that they do now rule. They rule. I mean, I could say I rule my house, and you probably rule your house.
Yeah.
And and my wife would come in and correct me and say, no, I rule the house. But no matter who it is, I mean, this is such a small, insignificant group of people that there is no reasonable way that you can think of them as ruling anything of substance.
Right.
So
I think of two anecdotes. One, if you ever watched Game of Thrones, there's a boy king in that who's a brat, and his uncle wisely tells him, anyone who has to scream, I'm the king, is not the king.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that vibe in this preaching.
Yeah.
Well, my question is, they claim that they're here right now ruling, that they're judging, and that they're setting all the wrongs right, but I don't see anything changing in the world. So they're not doing a very good job.
Yeah, and if you blame the congregation for that, well, the buck stops with you, Bucko. You know, the congregation is an outgrowth. That's the fruit of your ministry. That's your cloud.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I don't see, you have one more anecdote, but before you say that, I don't see that people have a problem with them sitting on the throne kind of thing. I see that people have a revulsion of the fact that they have corrupted scripture.
okay.
Yes. Yes.
So people look at that and go like, no, that's just simply not right. You know, you're so far out there, and you're saying things that you should never even be allowed to say. So I don't think it's that, oh, we want to sit on the throne, you know, and please make me an apostle. It's like, you guys just have really blown this.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think too many people are super jealous, except in the case I would say of myself where this would hit is that yeah, I sit on the throne of my own life. I'm the master of this ship, and I'm not ceding that power to a king or a prophet or an apostle. Um, and so, in that sense, I don't want you to be the apostle of my life. I intend to be the apostle of my life. But like I said, I don't personally have the desire to be anyone else's apostle outside of, you know, I shepherd my family, but certainly not in the dictatorial way
No.
that they're proposing. Which reminds me again of the second anecdote is Julius Caesar in one of his biographies. Um, they are riding through a little town, him and his friends, and his friends are joking. I bet there's people in this little hamlet that have politics and want to be the head guy of this stupid little town, you know, and they don't realize, you know, we're off in Rome, having real, you know, that's where the real power sits. And Caesar, because he was pathological about power, he said, I'd rather be the first man here than the second man in Rome. And there's people, like I said, who just love authority. They love it like some people love money, like some people love sex. They love power over people. It's strange to me, even having this discussion and thinking about why do they want so hard themselves to sit on thrones? Let's imagine a future in heaven in a millennial kingdom or anywhere where God is all in all. Everyone's receiving rewards. That's what he's talking about here. You're getting tenfold. We're all getting lands and houses and eternal life. Oh man. And then there's these super cool guys
Yeah.
who have fancy chairs.
Yeah.
Who cares? I don't even understand what the love of the honor there is.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in a scenario when you think that you're in front of the God of the universe singing holy, holy, holy. And all of that honor is being redirected. I don't understand what anyone thinks these 12 or 24 subordinate thrones at the bottom of the throne room are for. You seem still a step away from an actual, let's say, unitive experience or beatific vision if these people are on the borders of it, to me.
I think it serves their purpose right now, though. I don't think they're looking at it in the sense you're talking about it and in the reality of it. Right now, it's just serving a purpose for them to put themselves in that place of authority, rulership.
No, they love it. They
Yeah.
love the chief seats at the feast. They love to be called rabbi in the streets. You can see it on their smug faces.
Why the Bible is so clear about some of these things? They have no self-awareness. I swear, none. I watch them and I go, are they even remotely aware of what they're saying and how they look? And the answer's got to be no, because they would never do that.
What's interesting about this particular batch of people, all of these people whom I know personally, we all, and these guys especially more than me. I joined when I was like 20. These guys were raised in a cult. We have to remember that Ray and Steve are in a cult, and they grew up in a cult that Brother Danny ran. It was a personality, monarchical organization. It had the seeds of what we're seeing here, but they put this kind of crown and scepter on Danny Lane and on the ministry. And when they inherited that, it didn't seem, I think, at first prideful for them to say, well, now I have the mantle, I have this role to play. But they adopted the role and they believed it themselves because they believed it as a doctrine before they took over the position. But now that they're in the position, they can't break the spell of the cult themselves any more than the congregants can. And so there's every reason for Ray to believe that he is the angel prophesied about, that fits all of his eschatology. And when you believe that about yourself, and when it's constantly reinforced, and when you're in an environment where people don't give you feedback about your personality, it's not hard to see how someone gets so far afield. But I genuinely think that's where these guys are. It's not healthy to think about yourself in these terms. No. And it's not spiritual. I'm not one to throw that around or, like you said, judge people's salvations, but my spirituality has been largely about death to self. And this isn't that.
No, it is the antithesis of death to self.
It's ego. It's a massive, massive inflation of ego beyond not just unspiritual people, beyond the pale of most of humanity doesn't have this kind of hubris and ego.
This concludes our video. Thank you for joining us. The resource slides go by rather quickly for sake of time. You may wish to pause on them to read them. There is a link in the description box to the Google Classroom where you will find the resources for this video.
Disappointment is a bitter pill to swallow, paying back the hope I borrowed from someone I never knew. And it's a forfeit, humans in the suits of heroes, undressed by whispered conspiracies in quest for the truth. But if the truth is what you're looking for, you don't get to choose the answers anymore. So tell me, do you really still believe that the truth will set you free? I do. Someday, well, if the truth is what I'm looking for, I don't get to choose the answers anymore. So tell me, do I really still believe that the truth will set